Hello my little plant geeks. Today we're gonna do a lowland tour. The tent is much smaller than my highland tent. Actually it's a 4x4 feet. The highland I have is 8x4 feet, so half the size. I have much less plants in there, so it should be a little bit faster. It's a much simpler setup for beginners. There is just, there's no ventilation with the outside. There's no need to really cool this tent or anything. The light just warms the tent during the day, and then it cools down to about 20 Celsius at night because it's in my basement. So it's a much better setup to start with for beginners. Well, for advanced growers, you probably still want to have some lowlanders. I know that a lot of the highlanders have a lot of are in high demand. All the toothy peristome and all of these, sure, but there are just some lowlanders I just cannot say no to. Picalcarata, Ampularia, Northiana, and I have those. So let's have a look. All right, so let's have a look at the temperature. We have 28 Celsius, almost 90% of humidity. At night it goes down to 20 Celsius. So it's basically, 20 at night, 30 during the day, at least at the end of the day, because there's no heater. The light is enough to heat this tent. This is quite hot. That's an LED panel, and yeah, it does heat. I think that's a 150 watt panel, and then I do have some light bulbs. Everything is LED, but it does heat. Don't get fooled thinking LEDs don't heat. They do. We will see better with the wide angle. So there's a main tray here with most of my Nepenthes, and then another one over there because that tray is not big enough. Then I have a shelf which requires some cleaning, and I have less and less plants on this shelf actually, just because I used to have more Drosera, I used to have more Pinguicula, and I'm moving those someplace else, so I'm just, I just have less plants here. There is a tray over there that is, yeah, there's no carnivorous plant on this one. I have Drosera, Alocasia, that's different. And all the way on top of this shelf I have some seeds, and just like in the highland tent I did hang some of my orchids over there. You can see on the left, I'm gonna step in the tent now. So there are vining Nepenthes, and this is Nepenthes gracilis, and there is Albomarginata somewhere in there, and those are the vining Nepenthes from the tray at the back over there. So let's start with the top shelf with the seeds. These are seeds from my own plant. I have the male Nepenthes veitchiae that yield these seeds, and then the female is another veitchiae from someone in Vancouver, and it just germinated. I noticed that just a few days ago. We probably don't see that very well on the camera. I'm gonna try to take a photo with the macro lens on the camera. But yeah, so those are Veitchiae K crossed with my Veitchiae Candy Stripe cross Murud Stripe. Then if we go down, here I have a tray where I am experimenting with Venus flytraps growing all year long with no dormancy. Probably gonna make another video about it. It's a bit of a mess. I have some moss, I have a campanulata growing in the moss right here, some pings, some Drosera, not super interesting, and then I have some Pinguicula, even though I have less and less Pinguicula in this tray, and I need to clean all of that. So this is definitely not the kind of thing I want to spend much time with. But let's have a look at the left side where my Nepenthes are. Actually, there is only one plant that is not a carnivorous plant. It's this I forgot the name. It's pink something. Yeah, so this is a Philodendron pink princess. I think it's quite common. Not carnivorous, and the only one non-carnivorous in this section. It just keeps growing up and up. So, okay, what do we have here? Let's start with the small ones. So this is a Nepenthes albomarginata that I really like, and I need to repot it. The pictures are lovely. This was labeled as red hairless, I believe. Red traps, hairless form. Yeah, I got that from Florae. I think it's potted in coconut chip. Look at this. This is a beautiful form with actually a green peristome, and it's more red. The picture is more red than the other form that I have that I'm gonna show you later. It's more flashy red, right? So yeah, definitely it needs a repot. And then I have right here behind this old Veitchiae, I have a Rafflesiana, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And I have a picture now. It's gonna be very difficult for me to grab the pictures because I don't have a lot of space in this tray and the plants are getting really big. So yeah, Rafflesiana. This is also a plant I got from Florae. Yeah, so Rafflesiana is in high demand. I think it's a very popular plant amongst lowlanders, lovers, and I understand why. The picture opening here, another one just opening. It has those majestic wings on the sides, massive wings compared to the size of the picture. So that's the picture that was open. Look at those wings. And it's kind of toothy as well. And it grows well in this cocoa chip, but really it needs to be repotted here now because it doesn't have enough space. And then I have a Campanulata here, one of my favorite Nepenthes. It has such an interesting story, as the plant was once considered extinct. So I have a Veitchiae here that you can clearly see the nodes that are characteristic from Veitchiae. This one is actually a lowland. It's actually a cross between a Barrio Highland and the Sungai Samba, which, according to Christian Klein, this cross, well, it's still a pure species because it's a cross between two Veitchiae, but this plant grows better in lowland apparently. And yeah, that's it seems to be true. So that's one of the pictures. I don't even know if I can really grab it, but you can see it has a massive peristome that folds on whatever it's lying against. Okay, that's a beautiful plant. This is an old peristome where the peristome dried. It gives you an idea. And yeah, I have something else hiding in there before I move on to the Gaia. Oh, I only see Gaia over there. Okay, I have a Leonardoi somewhere in the mix, and I think we can see some of the, like this little guy. Let me try to focus there. That's Leonardoi. And the plant is underneath somewhere there. Then of course right here we have Nepenthes Gaia. This one I got in a local nursery. It's really stunning. It's getting really big. It actually prefers the lowland conditions than the highland conditions. For me, it's creating far bigger pictures in lowland, even though there is less light here. But it looks like, you know, look at this. That looks like the perfect amount of red on the leaves to me. So awesome. And yeah, it does picture like crazy. There are pictures all over the place over there. I can't really show it with the camera, and I will make a video just for that one. This plant is with the, you know, larger, longest leaves. That's a Baikal Karata red. And here is one of the picture. Now that's something. That's a beauty, and that's the reason I cannot just say no to lowland. You can see the fangs, that amazing peristome, and it's a red form, so I think the more common form of Baikal is orange. This one is red, and look how big it is. It sits in my hand here. Beautiful. Again, the fangs. Now there are other pictures. I'm gonna try to find them. There is another one a bit older over here. Now you can see that over time it darkens a little bit, right? The peristome is a little bit darker. You can see the nectar over there and the fangs. You get closer. I don't really see it drops at the end of the fang. It's supposed to drip nectar, and the ants are supposed to be attracted by that and go all the way. That's a little bit hard, by the way. I think we covered it. So Baikal is, you know, picturing very well. Actually, there are many. I count at least 4 pictures, maybe more. Let's move on to North Yana. Now North Yana may be my favorite here in all my lowlanders. There is something about the leaves though, and I'm not too sure what that is. It could be maybe too much light. The conditions are pretty stable, so it is not a change in conditions. I don't really spray the plants very often. I don't really know why it's getting red. If you have some clue, let me know. What I suspect is maybe just a bit too much light. Or maybe not humid enough, but it's like 90% humid. Maybe the roots are not humid enough. I don't know. Maybe I need to water it more. But it doesn't matter to me very much because the pictures are great. And if I can grab one, right, so there is one right here. So this is not at all the biggest one I had on this plant. Oh, beautiful. Stripy peristome. Very often the lead is relatively low, so I'm wondering if maybe it needs more water, maybe more water to the roots. But I think this plant is a bit like that. It does create a lead that doesn't open very wide. But yeah, it's a beautiful peristome. I probably have some other pictures. These over there. This one. I like how it creates this shape when it furls. I think that's the term. All right. And then while we are in this section, look at those ampullaria. So many ampullaria. So this one is Black Miracle. It's supposed to be, at least. It doesn't look very dark to me, but I don't think that's really a criteria to know if it's Black Miracle, because I could increase the amount of light and it would probably darken. And then there is over here probably my cheapest Nepenthes ever. This is just a I think speckled ampullaria, and it's doing really well. I think this one was priced at $3 or something like that. And there is a vine on this guy, and there are nodes growing on the vine. So as it goes here, you can see little nodes. I thought that was very interesting. Before this, I never really experienced this with ampullaria, so I was really happy to see how it, how it grows when it gets bigger. Because ampullaria usually is a plant that you like to have on the, on the floor. You like those pictures in the pot. I would recommend choosing a relatively large pot, so the pictures can, have a lot of room to expand, because otherwise they go on top of each other. Now you can see a node over here too. So yeah, very, very interesting species, so cute. And there are different variety or cultivars, so you can really I could have a tent just with Ampullaria, to be honest. Maybe this one is more looking like a classic Black Mirror with a green peristome. Now I do have another one. This one is, I'm gonna put the name, I think it's Harlequin crossed with something else, I forgot. And I have this from California Carnivore. I have this for a long time. It's a beautiful one. And there are tons of pictures over there, look at this. Alright, so 3 Ampullaria, Baikal, Northiana, then this Gaia is shooting pictures everywhere. Veitchii, yeah, I think we covered everything in that section. And then here I have 3 more on that tray. So this one is a Nepenthes gracilis black, and you can see there are basals over there. Now, of course, all pictures are all mixed here. I'm talking about the ones in the center right here, the tiny ones. And then there's a vine that goes up, up, and up. And which one is it? This one, this one. It goes up, it goes up, it goes up. And then it goes all the way there. And I think most of those pictures are gracilis black. So this one in particular, now this one is not that dark actually, because there's no more light up there, right? There's no light. The light is underneath, so they went, you know, the light is over here and the plant grows above the light, so it's kind of dark in this area. We don't really see that on the video because the camera is compensating for it, but yeah, it would be better if I had a light all the way kind of you know, up there. But it would burn the plant. So yeah, I'm always confused what to do, you know, when this happens, when the plant keeps crawling everywhere. I think this is gracilis as well. Oh no, that's Albomarginata. Okay, so Albomarginata is another one, so that's this vine. All right, so it's a red form. Let me show you a typical picture. That's one of them. It's a small one. It actually makes much bigger ones, but just not at the moment, I guess. It's kind of a darker red than the one I showed at the beginning, which is, you know, this one. This one has more of a flashy red. And then in the center, I have right here, I have a hybrid that I also have for a long time now. It's a Spectabilis. I'm sorry, we don't see which plant I'm talking about. It's actually this plant. So this plant is a Spectabilis veitchii, and it is in bloom. Created 2 flowers, so it's still blooming, but I actually didn't do anything. I didn't have time to really take care of that. So yeah, it's doing good. Even though veitchii veitchii is more of an intermediate plant, generally speaking, and then Spectabilis is a Highlander, I believe, mostly. Yeah, it's a Highlander. But this plant really likes it warm. It grows much better in the lowland tent than it did in the highland tent. And the peristome has these stripes. It's a bit strange. I've never really seen that before. I have another picture that went all the way there that I can show. It shows the same characteristics. You see the peristome? Now, I'm not a super big fan of that, to be honest. Maybe that's why it didn't motivate me to get some pollen to pollinate this plant. So yeah, I highly recommend to any Nepenthes grower to get a lowland tent. All you need is the tent, the light, and some fans. I still have some ventilation. When I said no ventilation, I'm talking about more like no cooling system. I do have 3 fans, one over there, one here, and another on my right here. And that creates kind of I wanted to create some sort of you know, vortex like this, so the airflow kind of rotates. I don't know if it's doing the trick, but I don't have any mold or algae or anything despite the high temperature and humidity, so I think I did good with the setup. And that's it. Last look at this beautiful Baikal. Massive Baikal. With the fangs. I always like to look at the fangs on Baikal, characteristic of this species. Very unique. So let me know if you enjoy the lowlanders and what is your option to grow highlanders and lowlanders. Do you grow them together? Do you separate them? Do you have different setup for them like I do? And what are your favorite lowlanders? Maybe I'm missing one or two I could get. All right, thanks for watching.